Right, we're live. God, that was fucking stressful, wasn't it?
You just referred to my face as a thumb.
Well, to be fair, when camera's like here, I don't know what it is. How am I supposed to know when I
You
can just
bark
see like
instructions.
some like orange skin? It's hard, isn't it? So this is the first time we've. Is this the first time? This is the first time we've done it like this, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So I might be a bit braver because you can't boot me or out.
Well, I wouldn't be too brave if I was you. So what next week?
And one good thing has come from you being on the podcast tonight.
Oh, go on then. One good thing, I'll take that.
The Sausage Fest is over.
Okay, so long line.
I have been live every night since Sunday, and it's been a bloke every night. So I had to give the viewers what they wanted, and that's obviously your pretty face.
We're better than a thumb. We're getting better. This is good.
Yeah, thought I'd make up for it, but it's a bit late though, so you might have to, if I start dropping off, just shout a bit louder in my ears if that's all right.
No, I will do. If not, Oscar will probably be awake and shout you all awake. So.
So, although we normally start with chaos, we haven't started with the intro we normally do because we're live. So we're on. This is episode 20 of our series.
It is. I can't believe we've got here. What have you been up to?
Quite a bit. Like, it depends. Where do you want me to start? Because I know you always tell me that I talk too much. So,
if you start talking too much, I'll stop you.
Well, the period between episode 19 and episode 20, quite a lot's fucking happened. So, yeah,
true.
I could go on forever, but I guess the main things I've done. I went to the CrossFit Games. I'm not going to go into detail on that because that's all I've talked about all week. So, our sort of loyal listeners will be like, God, I'm not even listening. I'm fed up hearing about CrossFit. But I said to you earlier, I'm like fucking so all in at the moment. Like,
you are so in love.
You know I love it, but like that advert, as soon as that advert come out that I screened last night with Elliot, I'm just like, I'm gone from CrossFit wanker to CrossFit complete utter wanker, if that's a thing. I don't know if that's but other than that, we had was it Monday or Tuesday? We had a tour around the print shop, didn't we, to have a look at a few bits.
We did.
For some exciting.
We're pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and exciting plans. We're not going to go into them yet because I feel like that's going to be a show in its own, and there's a few moving parts yet to put in place before we finalize anything. But yeah, some exciting stuff's coming up with that. And what else have I been up to? Not much really. I feel like this week I've got a bit of routine back. I feel like I've been a bit lazy. Not lazy. It's hard to say lazy. Is it late? What's the word? Because I've not been lazy. I've like worked and trained and done all that stuff. But my diet's not been great and my alcohol consumption has been higher than usual. So to me, I call that lazy. But is that lazy or is it just being
I think,
a twat?
No, just out of sorts. I think you're just gagging for routine. You're not very good when you come out of your routine. It takes you a minute to get back into it. But when you are, you're all in. So we'll call it a transition phase.
Yeah, I feel like I've got.
They're talking about drinking too much. Been at my mum's.
Oh, there she is. Look. Yeah, but that's just your. I'd call that your confidence juice.
Yeah.
For doing the podcast.
I'll take that. I mean, I didn't even have to ask. My mum just put it in my hand when I was like, "Can you look after Oscar for me?"
Well, that's it.
So you can't really say no. It's rude.
No, I guess not. And I guess like we'll come on to it in a bit, but the point of this episode, other than the fact that I love a platform to chat shit on, is to talk about stepping out your comfort zone, and that is going to center around you. So, and you know, some people say that these podcasts are better when you talk more. I'm fucking offended by that. I don't know what you mean.
I mean, it's true. It is true. We're listening to too much you speaking.
I know, and I do like to talk. I just have stuff to say, you know what I mean?
You do.
And I'm going to say it whether people want to hear it or not. So no one makes people listen. They should just do what you do.
What's that? Ignore you.
Just pretend we're listening. Like the other day when we were driving, and you asked me a question about a boring subject. Don't get me wrong, but you asked it, and I happen to know the exact answer in the history of said boring question. So I started telling you, and then after about 5 minutes, you were like realised it were actually reasonably interesting. And then you went, hang on, what have you
Can you say that again?
Oh, are you fucking real? So that is how to deal with me, I guess. But if you do that, like we prove with that, you sometimes miss something exciting.
True, but generally, if it gets interesting halfway through, I get you to repeat it. Things need to go into my brain like 3 times to register anyway. So you've probably got me to tell me the story one more time before it goes in. But it was interesting.
It was. It was
rare for you.
Yeah, very
rare.
So, how about you? What have you been up to? Have you had anything exciting happened recently to you?
Loads.
Oh,
Although
God,
this is my first proper 6-week holiday with an active child. So there's a few juggling plates at the minute, and then as we both do, I'll not put myself in a category of one there. When we say we're going to do something, we tend to do the hardest version of it just to put ourselves in at the deep end. So I'm sure we'll come on to it a bit later. But social media has been my stepping out of my comfort zone. So, well, you started it by making me do this. That was the first step. And then with all the reach and everything that you get through social media, and I'm about to embark on a pretty exciting journey, that I decided that I was going to do 30 days straight showing up on social media, and that being Instagram and TikTok. I've calmed down a little bit. It's taken me 7 days, but I've calmed down a little bit with it, so I don't feel as sick when I do it. But it's doing really well, and I'm really, really pleased with how it's going. So that's as exciting as I think it's been. Oh, and we've had an offer on the house. That's also pretty exciting.
So why don't we scoot back into that then? So you're selling your house.
Mm-hmm.
And why are you selling your house?
Because we've decided to go travelling for a year. Very exciting.
I'll just do all fucking work then, shall I?
I don't know where to start. So, if we're going to go for the full story. So, I very rarely watch Netflix. Very, very rarely. And I wanted to shit film to fall asleep to a few months ago. And I was scrolling in the top list, and one of them was called the Life List. And it looked really cheesy when you watch like the couple of minutes clips. And I was like, perfect, that'll do. That'll send me off. Anyway, within the first 20, 30 minutes, and for those that haven't seen it, it's basically a bit like a PS I Love You style, where the mum's got a successful pharmaceuticals business, I believe, or a cosmetics business, and the daughter is the marketing manager. So she, the mum dies from, I think she has a brain tumor, and doesn't leave the business in the girl's name, and says as part of her inheritance she has to complete the life list that she made when she was 13 years of age. And then it all documents it, and she does it via a DVD where she talks her through these stories. Anyway, I got quite emotional about watching this film. That's very rare for me, so don't say anything before I've already beat you to it.
I'm not saying no.
I was sat there and I thought, oh my God, I haven't done a lot of what I've got on my life list, so I'm going to make one. And then as I started to write it, it was quite apparent a lot of them were abroad. So I don't know how much of a life story you kind of want here, but I first decided I wanted to go traveling when I was 16 years old, and I booked it was a course. It was like a 2-week course down near Dover, and you went down and lived there for the first 2 weeks, and then you had like a month's training after that. But basically, I was in hospitality, so I was going to go and get trained to charter yachts. So is it below deck? Is that what it was called?
Oh, is that where all them fucking entitled morons just scream at each other for an hour?
Yeah, on a yacht or a massive rich yacht.
I remember Rach used to watch that, and I could just hear it from the other room, just screaming nonsense. Yeah.
So I was like, obviously below deck wasn't a thing then. But because of my hospitality background, I could go on these yachts and I could earn very, very good money, tax-free, and then be out of the country all over the world for like 6 months and then come home for 6 months. I was like, that is my dream job. So got it all booked, and about 3 or 4 weeks before I was due to go down, I was like, started packing my bags, getting all excited. I was going to go stay with a friend, and then my dad got cancer for the first time at this point. And he was given a short life expectancy at that point. So I said to them, I'm not going to go. Like it's not meant to be. If I only get a year left with my dad, I'm gonna stay. So they were very stringent about it. I had to literally send documents to prove that was a real story. So cancelled it, got my money back, and stayed at home. Luckily, my dad is still with me today. So I never went. And then there was 2 or 3 occasions after that over the last 10 or 12 years that I've tried to go back for various reasons. And for whatever those reasons are, I've not managed it or not had the balls to go, one of the two. So yeah, when I was sat there writing this life list, I was like, actually, like if I don't do this now, then Oscar will be in school and he'll get settled and all that sort of stuff. So I'd have to wait potentially another 14 years. And who knows what's going to happen in that, especially with like my family's bill of health, as I've alluded to.
And you'd be right old. You'd be struggling to get about with them, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Bearing in mind what's on my life list, which is like
jumping
swimming,
off cliffs and skydiving and shit, swimming with sharks. Not letting you do that with. They're not letting you do that with Zimmer, are they?
No. So that is the top 3: swimming with sharks, cliff diving in the Philippines, want to go on safari, be in the jungle, all those types of ridiculous, crazy things. I've already done a skydive, and I definitely want to do it again in a hot country. Because the UK skydive is just not as pretty. So all those types of bits, I was like, actually, let's see if we can make this happen. So looked at it, obviously gave us a relatively long window, so 6 months to put the businesses in a position where we could operate them from abroad. And then, yeah, put the house on the market, and it was on, we got the offer yesterday, day before. So that's the first step. So we've got the in-laws to move in with, which is the next bit to look forward to. And then, yeah, hope to go next year.
I think it's what I like about it, like the nuances of our working relationship we're going to figure out, because I'm so supportive of what you're doing, because you'll never admit it because you take responsibility for your actions and for why you do and don't do things. But to me, you've lived your life in service of others and always prioritize their needs over your own, whoever that may be. And I like that this is something that, although will benefit a lot of people and in your entire family, this is your dream, and you've made it happen. And I'm proud of you for that, because I think that's quite a journey for you to go on. And I think, when people talk about, I don't know, growth, when we look at like our individual journeys, which have intertwined professionally over the last sort of 2 years, we've both done a lot of growing in different ways. And I think one of the main things I've seen you do is become more selfish. And you haven't become more selfish to be selfish and say, I want this, I want that, like a spoiled brat. You've done it because you have dreams, you have a right to be successful in your own right, you have things that you want to do, and those things benefit those around you. And I think it takes some doing that to live a life of service like you have, to then do what you've done. So although I'm still a little bit, right, what are we going to do here, like work-wise, from a sort of physical point of view, that is, because obviously like the stuff that you're good at and that you bring to the Defiant Empire as we're creating and building is the stuff you can do from anywhere. But it's just the nuances around, well, what if I want an oldie? Who's going to pack some shit here? But we'll figure that out, won't we?
We will.
But yeah, I'm happy that you've done that for you.
Thank you. Yeah, very, very, very excited. We'll ignore the fact of what needs doing before that in terms of what needs sorting. But yeah, you've been amazing, and everyone around me has been amazing. But yeah, this is a big thing for me, a very big thing. So I cannot wait. And if anything, it's given me the biggest drive to do things differently. And I know. I call it my superpower. Sometimes it can be annoying, but I like to blue sky think. I like to think really, really big sometimes. And this is one of the biggest, in the sense that, we can, or like I can make this work, and all of the bits hopefully thrive rather than just survive over the next year, because everything will be different. Like I always feel better on holiday. I don't know if you're the same, just in terms of like clarity on business decisions, good sleep, good sun. I think we've alluded to the fact that I absolutely love the sea. So anywhere with a bit of water, which we don't have that luxury around here, will, I think, make a massive, massive, massive difference. And I plan to make it the best decision I've made and benefit through, I call it service, whatever you want to call it, but I care very much for the people I care about around me. So if I can do this where it makes it as good as can be, then that's going to be my aim.
Yeah, and I think like it's one of those, isn't it? You know, like when you hear about people that, I don't know, we've talked about it. We'll have another show on this, but you know, like you hear the stories of every great entrepreneur taking a risk in order to achieve the dreams or take the business to the next level. And that's what you've got now for 6 months or 4 months. Fuck me, time's going quick. 4 or 5 months. You've got that time now where you have no option but to succeed if you want to fulfill your dream. And that's quite a fucking good motivator, isn't it? But it also leads to days like I know you've had recently, and I've tried to support you as best I can, where it does feel like the world's closing in and you're like, fuck, how am I going to do this? And it's just, that's where I think we're good for each other in that respect, because when e-runners have those moments, we're good at, like, as long as we don't have them at the same time, I don't know what would happen there.
We haven't done that yet.
No, but I think keeping you grounded has been a bit of a challenge for last week or so, but you're getting there. But I don't know if that's the added stress of what the topic of this podcast was, which is stepping out your comfort zone. So while you're doing this and you feel like the world's caving in on you a little bit, not badly, but just because of your own high standards and your own, I don't know, desire to be perfect in everything you do, puts additional pressure on. And then to embark on something that ultimately makes you the most uncomfortable version of you that you could ever be is probably the ultimate in stepping out of your comfort zone. So how is it feeling to do what you're doing? And let's talk why have you never been that active on social media first? Why is that?
Okay, well, obviously we'll come back to that bit because you made a very good point about being a bit of a control freak. But I was always on social media. I was never active. I think we've joked about this at the beginning parts of the podcast, where that scene with Chandler from Friends, where a camera's pointed at his face and he just doesn't know what to do with his limbs or his face or his mouth. That's literally me. I am getting better. Like I say, you've kind of forced me into it, kicking and screaming. But I've always hated it. I've never been a big camera fan. And then, being completely honest, when I was pregnant, or sorry, after I'd given birth to Oscar, and I was sat there feeding at the beginning part of his life, and it wasn't going all that well. I wasn't very good at breastfeeding, mainly from my impatient nature, I'm sure. But I was sat there scrolling through social media, and everyone looked like they were absolutely nailing life and motherhood, and that was complete weakness on my part, with the sense that I wasn't there comparing or doing anything else, but for something that I was hoping was going to go and uplift me, it was having the opposite effect. So while I was sat there and I was like, it could be 2 a.m. and then again at 4 a.m. and then 6 a.m. and I'm like, why is my baby not sleeping? Why can I not breastfeed wherever I go? Why can I not do that? And people, it wasn't like a negative thing. It was purely a selfish and terrible mindset to be in. But I think when you're sleep deprived and your body's been through all that, it's a massive emotional shift in so many ways for a female. And I think it hit me a lot harder than I was expecting. So when I looked at it and thought, obviously because I've been in fitness, a lot of my people or everything that I was following was very fitness related, as well as obviously motherhood. While I was pregnant, I obviously followed a few of those accounts. So my algorithm was showing me really, really fit people having a lovely time and then bouncing baby mums that were probably a lot further on in my journey that looked like they were having an easy life. So I decided 4.5 years ago to cancel social media. And funnily enough, my sister had done it the year before and she said how good she was feeling. And I thought, you know what, I'll have a month off and see how I feel. A month off turned up into 6 months, into a year, into 4 years. And I was like, I just never missed it. It was never for me. I know the power of it from a business perspective, and I've always encouraged people to do it from a business perspective. But it just wasn't serving a purpose that made me feel better. And I'll always, if anything's making me a better version of me, then I'll double down on it. But if it's not, then I'm not bothered. So yeah, I obviously, like I say, and over 4 years, it's like learning to ride a bike. I was never on the bike at the beginning. So yeah, I haven't missed it at all, but know the power of it from brand awareness, brand perspective. A lot of people that I know don't actually know what I do. So it was almost an opportunity to showcase that, not to people that know me, because obviously that they're not my target market. It's not only those, obviously it's the further afield, but it was putting it in a way that when I speak to people one-on-one, very much like when we started working together, that it actually made sense to be able to, because it was even like the conversations at the very beginning, because obviously we never spoke about business for the first 5 years of our friendship. Never even talked about anything that wasn't about going out and having a good time. So
I'm going to say, for that period, like, I thought you were just a dizzy weirdo and I was just completely off my tits, so it weren't really conducive to business talk, were it?
no, I don't think 1 a.m. is the time where you sit down and talk about Google Business Profile.
No. But onions, we had layers.
We did. We're still going. Plenty of layers. So yeah, that was my my story, and then decided recently, obviously with the journey I'm about to embark on. It was a networking event that I went to for the Entrepreneur Circle that we bang on about quite a bit. I went there a couple of weeks ago.
Emma says we're both onions. I don't know if you can see
We're
the comment.
I can. It's just really small, so you can see my moon face.
Oh God!
Really shiny.
Ahmed's back.
Stop it.
So in doing it then, so right, so let me think here what I want to ask you about this, because I'm like, okay, we've got a question from Emma, which I'm going to come back to that question because I'll tell you what. So what is it that you think makes you uneasy about sharing stuff on social media? So I get it from everybody has their own preference on how they would want to act online with their personal life. But what is it that makes you so uncomfortable about doing it from a business point of view?
I don't think that was the bit that made me uncomfortable. I think it was more probably a bit of imposter syndrome. And you get so much advice. If I just sat there, which obviously a lot of the 30 days has been, and purely did business with no personal life, no personality whatsoever, then I end up being a no one. So it had to come with a bit of personal in there. I had to figure out the best way in which I wanted to show up online to showcase me, what I do for a living, and me as a person. I've always been incredibly private for forever. I don't even know why. To be honest, I was talking to I think it was my dad about this the other day. I always remember the time where we got burgled when I used to live, funnily enough, in this house before we moved back here. We got burgled, and I remember that feeling like it was yesterday, and the invasion of privacy and space made me feel so uneasy. And I was only, oh God, I must have been 6 or 7. And I know it sounds crazy because obviously it's not essentially the same, but knowing that someone like knew where I lived and knew where I slept and knew, I don't know, that where my mum and dad were and stupid things like that. And that thing is what I can only really put this privacy thing down to. I've been exceptionally private ever since. Like I've never really been an oversharer for that, but I'm decided that's with the comfortable getting uncomfortable. The people, especially the people I've surrounded myself with in the last sort of year or so, have been so supportive in the sense that because I have doubled down on work, which we've alluded to in the past, it's made me realize what I was missing. Like, my passion is business. Like, obviously I've had a business with Ed for over 10 years and I've absolutely loved that, but that was his dream and his passion, and we've made it what it is together today, made it what it is today together. But it was never like my passion. I loved the business side, and I absolutely loved every part of that job. But there was something that I was like, it's still not me. It's like there's a bit of me that I really want to explore. And obviously we've alluded, like I say on the podcast before, that over the last year I've done a lot of that. So the more people that I've surrounded myself with that have seen that part of me, even silly little things like going for lunch with friends, and anyone who watches this will know who they are, and they'll sit there and they'll literally say, you light up when you talk about work. Like it's amazing to see. And the last friend I went for lunch with, she said, well, can I come and work for you because it sounds really fun. And things like that.
Well, you know what, whoever that friend were, be careful what you fucking wish for. That's all I can say.
Don't work with Thumbhead.
Yeah, it
So,
seems
yeah.
all good, but after a while it grates.
Yeah, I'm a lot. I'm not saying I'm not. So yeah, I think the more confidence I got with people that were saying it's, with everything that we're doing, everything that I've done already. So I don't want to discredit what I've done because I've worked very, very hard. I feel like I'm only still getting started, but I'm not going to discredit what I've done for the last year or two because it's been emotional. It's been a roller coaster, but it was really interesting. I was listening to a podcast yesterday and I think they got it bang on with the fact that when you go to the gym, the reps hurt. Going to the gym and like getting stronger and getting fitter physically hurts, but the outcome is amazing. And that's the only thing. And I've described business, and I know you hate the word, but entrepreneurship exactly the same. Like the reps hurt. They're designed to hurt. And if they don't hurt, you're not growing. You're not getting strong enough. You're not getting big enough. And it really resonated with me. And I was like, so the last year or two is supposed to hurt. It was supposed to be painful because otherwise I wouldn't be sat here making this big decision, selling my house, all my things, both cars, taking my 3-year-old and traveling around the world. And it's that for me, even though it's scary because of the magnitude of what it is at the stage of life I'm at, then the reps that I'm taking in order to get that dream, that's what's exciting. So yeah, because of all of that, that's when I've realized if I don't do this now and not capitalize on it, but ultimately tell my story in the hope that it highlights to others the art of the possible, then I'm silly too. I am silly too. And there I am going to be careful with what I share just because of still who I am and how I want to show up online. So it's still not going to be full. It's still going to be very business heavy. Because my personal life, I still want to be my personal life. But obviously there are elements of that are worth talking about because if anyone's even got a slight inclination or a slight little tickle of wanting to do it, then I want to show them how it's possible and show them how I've done it. And if it helps even one entrepreneur or one business owner, then I will be well and truly happy that I've got over my ridiculous fear. Some call it crazy. But it was a massive fear of mine. So yeah, if I help one person, I'll be buzzing.
Well, I'm sure you will. And I guess it's like it is a balance, isn't it? Because you want to share the business side, but like we talked about with Cameron at the EC, and we've talked about with many people over the last sort of year, when we've discussed it probably on the podcast. The stuff that performs best on socials, business stuff, is always the one that has an element of personal in it. Now, I think some people go way too far with it, and I'm like, I see it, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Like, then it comes too far. But finding that balance is really good because I want to know that you've got a really good professional portfolio and a good offering, but it's nice to know that you're human and relatable at the same time. So how are you gonna? I think you'll probably flirt that line better than most because of the personal side makes you feel a bit more uncomfortable than the business side. So I feel like you'll do that pretty well. But is that something that you've considered?
Sorry, you just broke up that bit. Say that last bit again.
I just said, is that something that you've considered, how you'll flirt that line?
I was kind of going to wing it, not going to lie. Mainly because I felt so sick in what I was doing and I'm only 7 days in. So even just getting comfortable to that point, I thought, well, let me do 30 days. I'll see what does well and what doesn't. It tends to be the more real, which obviously you already know that because it's what the advice that I give out to all people. But in terms of the less polished version, which obviously I've still got to edit it to try and get what I'm saying across because it's all well and good talking someone through how to do it, but you need to physically see it sometimes. So I need to obviously edit it in order to showcase it. But yeah, anything like, and to be fair, it's been the direct messages of what's been amazing. Obviously, you get views and likes and shares, and especially at the beginning, because all your mates back you, and obviously that boosts you. But the direct messages that I'm getting from people that I wouldn't have even expected it from have been amazing. Like, this has been really useful. Can you help me with, just anything? And saying that I'm coming across really well. So if I can find, and it's always the bits that are like a bit of me and a bit of useful. I haven't put that much personal in, but obviously I find my life pretty, not routine, but I don't know how much there is I want to share about that because it's not that exciting. But everything that's coming is going to be exciting. So when I spoke to a group of friends the other day, I was like, what kind of bits do you think people would even be interested in seeing? And they were literally from packing the house, because we were going packing from a relatively big house to be able to live out of 3 suitcases. So that bit, moving, getting back in with the in-laws, how you actually pack for a holiday, where it is that you go, how you live, things that you do. So it'll be bits and pieces, I think, of the journey, but I want to show a little bit of the amazing parts, but also the stressful intricacies of what's going to happen. I don't know, maybe a reel of how many pants and socks and mascaras I pack.
I think, yeah, if you start posting reels of your knickers, I'm sure they'll do pretty well. But yeah, I think that's the thing with that. I think that's the key thing there. So if you go back and look at what you say turned you off of social media, it was seeing everyone's highlight reels at a time when you weren't feeling at your best. So I think it's really key that you do that, where you go in on this journey, and it's a great end result, hopefully. But the trials and tribulations of getting there, people want to see that too, because then it's real. You know, if it's like, but as long as it's not poor me, I'm having a tough time before I go into paradise for a year. You know what I mean? You got to find the balance. No. But life isn't easy, is it? And people don't want to see, and I think you'll be able to do that, given that's what turned you off in the first place, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, so what day? We were day 7, so we've got 28 days. Oh fucking hell, that's good maths, isn't it? 23 days left of Torie content, and then it's going to have to continue, isn't it? But I'm guessing you won't put yourself under pressure to be daily, because there's no point building up a bit of a following and that, and then going, right, 30 days done. See ya.
I don't know. Obviously, the point of the 30 days, which, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't advise it lightly to anybody else, because it is a lot of work, it is a lot of pressure. But within those 30 days, the reason I wanted to sort of catapult it, I want to look at the analytics. And as you know, I think when you can figure out what works and what doesn't, and obviously I'll test these over the next few days, when I can figure out what works and what doesn't, and what people are responding to. Now, bearing in mind, it's going to be one of those balancing acts. There's a fine line between response from your best mates that are just keen to, stay in touch, interested in what you're doing, versus the people that I'm obviously wanting to attract from a business point of view. There is a very, very fine line. But at the end of the day, ultimately, with any business, if you can leverage attention, then you're on to a winner. So I went to go and pick up my car the other night from its service, and the guy's retiring, so he must be in his early 60s. Like, I've been going to him for over 10 years, and he says, I'm retiring, I'm going on a camper van around Europe. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Blah, blah, blah. We got chatting about all the bits we want to do. So camper van in New Zealand's on the list. And he gave me 3 YouTubers that he watches. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. So obviously he's in his 60s, and he's wanting to look at the right camper van with the right bits of kit to buy, what to take, what to do, etc., etc. But obviously he's gone onto there for a reason, and it is just a couple, or the few that he gave me to go and research. But essentially they were just documenting what they were doing, but ultimately what they were showing was useful to the end user. So whether they were selling bits of gear on, whether it be an affiliate thing or whatever it is, obviously my objective is for my consultancy services, which can be remote, but ultimately it's to make businesses get to where they want to get to. So that can be done from absolutely anywhere. And when I'm trying to showcase that I've done that for myself, and I want to bring that to others, the eyes on will get me a small percentage of the people that I'm wanting to get. You can't obviously narrow down and niche down too much, because ultimately, like I say, attention is what you can sell. And even down to like,
sorry, I was going to say, do you think the world's evolved enough now that you talked about then wanting to get more clients, and then getting those clients, and you're sort of living out the dream that most people want? Do you think there would be a challenge with getting clients when you're not in the country? Your clients are going to be in the UK, and they feel like you're not, even though obviously you don't need, to be face to face to do what you're doing. But do you think that even though that is the case, that some people will be turned off by the fact that you can't have that initial face-to-face meeting with, seeing the whites of their eyes as opposed to a Zoom call and all that shit. Is that a concern that you've thought about, or do you think the world's evolved enough where people are just that used to Zoom and shit now that they don't really care?
I think the world's evolved enough. Don't get me wrong, but obviously it is only, I'm not looking at it as a forever anyway. The structure to what I'm doing in terms of the consultancy piece and taking people from where they are to where they want to be. Obviously, I'm building a team in the UK, so there will be a team on the ground for those that need face-to-face. But ultimately, even from the clients that I've had to date, sometimes they only see me 2 times within the 6 or 12-month contract that we have. So it's not like they have to see me, because the work is ultimately done behind closed doors and then it's presented to them, which obviously is generally through technology, and sitting down and having those touch points. So going through analytics, going through what's performing and what isn't, can all be done on a computer, because ultimately that's where the information is. I massively think it's down to the person and the relationship that you build from the off, which hopefully a lot of that will be done on the front end of social media, in the sense that you build trust and knowledge and understanding, and then taking the time to truly understand your client and take them on a journey. Then I don't think it's going to make a difference. Don't get me wrong, it will to some, and that's absolutely fine. It's one of those things. But yeah, I don't think so. Like, I really, really don't. Mainly because I've been on the receiving end of completely remote coaching courses. I've done all sorts over the last 10 years. And as long as they're held to account, or I'm held to account for being in those courses with regular touch points, with deadlines, with accountability, then I've still completed them because I've got skin in the game and I'm paying for a service. So yeah, having been on the receiving end, I'm not worried.
Okay. And what will you miss most about life in the UK, apart from the glorious weather?
Oh, friends and family, obviously. Friends and family.
Well, obviously that's a given, but is there anything about the UK life that, to be fair, in fact, they can't be, can they? What a fucking shit tip it is now. We could go into this and like,
it's a
you'll
mess.
not even be allowed back in country without like handing over your firstborn, where we're going at the moment. So you're doing it right. But having said that, in fact, I feel like in Australia they're a bit more free. New Zealand's a bit dodgy, so watch out there. Where else are you going?
Cambodia, Bali, Laos, I think it is. What else on there?
I don't know if it's Cambodia where my mum and dad went on they were on a tour, on like a cruise, and they got off at boat, and there were people had dogs' heads on sticks. Like, were it Cambodia? Oh, it might have been Vietnam actually. Yeah, maybe
Vietnam's
Vietnam.
on there.
You're all right. Oh, there you go then. So you might see a few dogs' heads.
Thailand, that's on there. What's there?
I reckon you'll
got some
see
lovely stories.
a few birds with cocks. I reckon in Thailand. I reckon that'll be on. Well, to be fair, in fact, I'll stop there. With that one. Right, let's move swiftly on before I get us all in trouble. So
Please
Emma
do.
has asked a question. Good story, and very proud of you both. That was a little bit ago when we were talking about the journeys that you've been on predominantly, but also a bit of mine. And Steve, what makes you uncomfortable? I don't know. I put on the post, taking the piss a little bit. I wrote like, I don't really have a comfort zone, but I feel like I do. My comfort zone's probably a little bit different, isn't it? Because I'm so routine driven and like stuff like that. I feel like my comfort zone's like, I'm uncomfortable when something doesn't exactly happen as it's supposed to within my routine. So I guess, if you looked at it from the outside looking in, the stuff that bothers me that I worry about, people would be like, seriously, is that all you got to worry about? Take the win, mate. But
taking your washing out.
I don't know. I've got something that makes me uncomfortable, but I just really can't talk about it on this podcast, and I will talk about anything. But Emma, you asked the question, and Torie, So when we went out for dinner in our business relationship with Emma, who's our accountant, I told you both a story then, and that made me uncomfortable. So leave it at that. Oh, I'll tell you what. Spiders. Does that count?
Yeah.
Well, the
Why
only
does it
reason I
make you
say that,
uncomfortable?
because it's just everywhere. This house is infested. It's like arachnophobia. Like I saw and I don't know if it's one of them things, right? I saw a post on social media the other day that said spiders making a comeback, and I didn't open it because I was like, I'm not going to be that guy, you know, lad Bible, fucking hell, they speak more shit than Sky News. But I was like, I'm not going to open it. But since then, they're just everywhere. Like, and yeah, that makes me a bit uncomfortable because I've got an irrational
Are you
fear of
saying
them
the?
that my mum
Are you
passed
saying
on
the
to me.
acorns? Is it acorns? What do you have
Conkers.
in your house?
So we were,
Conkers.
yeah. Rach bought into that old wives' tale that if you put conkers in every corner of your house, there'd be no spiders. And I remember one day I saw a spider mounting one. I was like, they're just taking the piss in this house. Like it were like,
You've still got them there though.
yeah, I know, but I'm not picking them up. Well, Danielle clean, she's left them there, so she must believe in old wives' tale as well. So, but yeah, there's been a few
Part
kicking
of the
about
furniture.
recently. Yeah,
Maybe they're
but
going
yeah,
to be fresh
I don't know.
conkers. Maybe that's what you need to replace them.
I going back to that question though, I feel like I probably have a blind spot with what makes me uncomfortable because I don't like to admit that things do because very little does. So I don't really know. I think I'm just maybe programmed to ignore it. What would you say makes me uncomfortable, like other than the routine thing that I've just mentioned?
Routine would have been my first answer. So exactly what you said. When things are outside of your control, you struggle. You also get uncomfortable when there's no obvious direction, when there's no
Yeah.
like clear, whether it's like the best way to do something or a clear path in where you're going or an end goal. I think that makes you feel very uneasy until you get to that point where you're like, right, I know what I'm doing. I know what my plan is. That's the best
Yeah,
way to put up the stall.
yeah, that is one. I don't know if is uncomfortable the word. Yeah, I guess I feel uncomfortable, but it's not. It's like I can't compute because I'm very logical and I like processes that follow, and there's a logical step to either the resolution or you know the best way to do something. And it's when there isn't a good way to do something as opposed to I can't find it because like yeah I am useless. I go to pieces. It's like the computer fails. It is like a robot because it just like goes that just shuts down. You know, I keep like blue screen of death just comes between my ears, and I'm like,
Yes.
I have no idea what to do. And it's because there is no good way, and I can't just plow on without a plan. Whereas you're very good at that. You do that a lot. You'll just be like, well, I'll find a way on the way. And I'm like, wait, but which way are we going? You're like, doesn't matter, we'll figure it out. I'm like, no, don't work for me.
But that's where I think our relationship got stronger, especially within the last sort of 12 or 18 months, which we spoke about in the podcast about pivoting, because it needed to happen. That's exactly what needed to happen. But the direction in which I think just starting can be the hardest bit. And sometimes starting without a plan is the scariest thing, but it can sometimes be the best because you do figure it out as you go. And you'll only make good decisions because you love and care about what it is that you're doing. So the decisions you do make, whether they be short term with a little bit of fog around you, and I do think you're a lot better at that now than you used to be, like a hell of a lot. It's almost like you trust your instincts a lot. Not instincts, maybe, I don't know. I think you just trust it a little bit more. I don't know, is that right or wrong to say?
I wouldn't say I've always trusted my instincts. It's not that I trust my instincts. These situations we're talking about is where I have no instincts. I think what I've learned to do over time, and as I accept more and more that I am an entrepreneur, it's like you have to accept that there's going to be so much going on beyond your control that if you don't get okay with that, then you're constantly you're constantly going to be in that state of blue screen that I talked about, because sometimes you do just have to figure it out. And I am much better at that. I think the only thing that we'll always clash on forever is the blue sky stuff. I don't like it's, and you have a lot more credibility than most with me when you do your blue sky thinking, but I don't like that. I feel like society as a whole is very much like ignore reality in order to press on with whatever the bullshit of the week is. And that's what I struggle with. And I'm not saying that is bullshit of the week to be blue sky thinking, but you know what I mean in terms of that. It's like, right, I need this to be real. I need it to be logical. I need it to be a process, and then we can move forward. And I think that I struggle with anything other than that, because it's not because I don't trust it, but it's like there are so many people out there full of shit and full of nonsense that I don't know, if they're not actually presenting facts to me, why should I believe them? Because if you can't clearly articulate your plan or your idea or your process, and you don't have one. And if you don't have one, why are you dragging me along with it? You know what I mean? It's that kind of thinking, I think, that I maybe get from that.
I think, yeah, no, I agree. And because you do this thing where you think, I can't remember who you likened it to. What was the character off? Is it Avengers? And he sits there and he sees every which outcome, and there's only one outcome that's the right one.
Doctor Strange, Stephen, his name.
That's him. And I think because obviously there's no one clear outcome, it's really hard for you to think of the million scenarios it could be when you're not thinking of what the B point is. So it does make it almost like a completely wasted brain time. And you do that naturally. You can't turn that off. So I think when you're not worried about every which way that it takes to get from A to B, that it's actually quite difficult to do. So you need facts to give you that touch point to be able to figure out everything that can go wrong, A through Z, or right, A through Z, to then pick what you're comfortable with. And I think that's why you do struggle with it a little bit. But don't get me wrong, like the people that you spend more time with, the conversations that you have, the trust in which, and you've instilled in others and they've instilled in you, I think has given you that confidence even to not be 100% sure on every which decision, but that you know that you're making all the right decisions to get further on in life. So I do think you're getting there. That's from outsiders and watching what you've been through for the last 2 years.
Yeah, and like we always say, I'm simple and complex all at the same time, I guess.
You are.
Well, it's like this week. Like I have not been able to get back into a routine since Greece. Arguably, I've stepped in and out of it since Greece, and then obviously I went back to the games, and I've struggled with routine. So like, I can't, and I know how I am, and I couldn't, and I love my routine. I couldn't get back into it. So this week I went, right, podcast every night, train same class every morning, eat the same things, and I've done it all this week. And now today was the first day I got up and everything flowed. It's got gradually easier. Sunday, I nearly cancelled the podcast that I had scheduled in. Monday, I was a bit sluggish. Tuesday, I was getting back into it. Yesterday, I felt good. And today, I'm like, thank God, I'm like into it. Even though I'm going to bed later tonight, so I'll probably be fucked tomorrow and all now. But
sorry, it's my fault.
No. So before we close, what we got on this weekend? And any exciting plans this weekend?
I'm doing a car boot. Oh, and I'm going to do a ski lesson.
That's what I was going for. You know, I went. Although your car boot, I'm sure it'll be very good.
I started with the thing that I'm planning in my head. I've got a ski lesson, so I'm taking. So me, Ed, and Oscar are going to Manchester, and seeing my sister and brother-in-law, and teaching Oscar to ski. Because obviously, they say the earlier they start, the better. And it was always one of those skills that I never did, and always wished I had. So I'm going to learn as an adult while Oscar learns as a toddler. And then
has Ed ever skied before?
No, only that one time that we went on holiday and he hated it.
I feel like his limbs are a bit too big for skiing.
He's a very large person to fall. But a bit like you know, with your knee injury, like if on skis.
If I looked, oh my God, my ACL could rupture looking at a pair of skis.
So he says the same, because you two have obviously got that knee thing. There's obviously something inside you that thinks, if I break that, I can't live the life that I want to live. Whether that be, obviously, he has to be on the gym floor all day, so he has to be on his feet, but also training. Like, you can imagine if your knee went, what that does to your gym and your fitness. So he looks at it and thinks, no.
Tell him to get in a sledge.
Yeah,
that's what I said I'd do. I'd go on a skiing holiday because it looks great, and then I'd just get in a sled and roll downhill in that. That'd be bang on that. I might, I don't mind
but not as bad, because they can't do that.
Oh no, yeah, they can't twist. If I come off, fly into a tree, that's just funny, isn't it? But if I twist my knee, that's not funny. So I'm weird on that one. But that sounds fun. I bet Oscar will be buzzing with that, and he'll love that, won't he?
He'll absolutely look. That will be part of my reel, so you will see some of that online.
Good.
Probably him falling, or me.
So skiing in a car boot, pretty full and fun weekend then.
What a gorgeous! What about you? What are you doing?
I think I'm doing out. I've got someone come to view my house on Saturday morning. Nice. Yeah, because I don't know what I'm doing with my house yet, but I've just put a few feelers out, see what's happening. More to follow on that. I'm not going nowhere though, just in case anyone's worried. I'm not fucking off. I'm a Chesterfield boy through and through, Duck.
You love it.
I'm from town and I'm proud. So yeah, I've got that Saturday morning. I'll go and see my granddad, and then Premier League's back. The football is back.
Oh yay! I am so happy.
Well, it might stop me drinking alone. You know, I've got something to do, so anything
True.
that I can take at the moment. So yeah, I'll be doing that, and then Sunday I'm going to go and do. Oh, one thing that I've been talking about with Nave, who watches this. So we're talking about, and people are open to join us. He wants to know how long it would take to do a mile burpee broad jump. So on the 30th, I think on the 30th of August in the morning, we're going to go to a track somewhere and we're going to test it out and we're going to do it. And I'm a bit scared because I've worked out that say that you broad jumped a meter each time, which I think over the course of a mile is a reasonable estimate because you can jump a bit further, but you're going to tire. That means you'd have to do 1,600 burpee broad jumps to do a mile. And if you did them at the rate of 13 a minute, which is aggressive again, given the time,
aggressive.
That'd take you 2 hours at 13 a minute. So it could be a 3-hour job. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure, I reckon we could get Miles in on that. Do you? Miles will fucking have a bit of that one.
100%. To be honest, I'm a little bit tempted. Can you go as a pair?
No, you've got to do it yourself. It's one of them, because I said to Nave when we're talking about, we'll take a picnic, we'll make a day of it, because it's going to be miserable and if you do it a bit of fun. But yeah, I'm intrigued. And in true Elliot fashion, I mentioned it to him at the gym this morning. And he said, that's fucking stupid. I'm not doing that. And I'm like, yeah, we know it's stupid. I
love that he says it how it is. You could do it as a relay. Like if you wanted to get a few people, you know, like when you went on the row and they pick up the pace and then you naturally do what's alongside you. It might do you and Nate a bit of good.
Yeah, and what did we do when we rode a marathon? I did it on my own because I think if you're doing it, you do it. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. But it's nice to have people that have got a bit of energy around you.
Well, watch this space for that anyway. I'm going to make it a bit of a content day. Me and Nate are going to do a podcast about it. Maybe get a few on the podcast, talk about it before and after, because we can have quite a few on this at once, which could be a bit of fun. So, yeah, planning that. But yeah, other than that, not much. And then I've got Yatesy on Monday night. That's the next show that's scheduled. So,
nice.
Right, are we done?
I think so. Yeah.
How do we end with a fist bump? Can you do it? There you go. Right. Thank you very much.
See you in a bit.
See you in a bit. Oh, she's gone.